Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome to my bedroom, my safe space, and welcome to my little safe space on the internet. So today's video, even though this channel is mainly about surfing and my surfing journey, I think my mental health journey, as I said in my previous video, is very, very interlinked into my surfing journey, and I really want to move towards merging all my different social media channels to kind of the same thing, that they're not so compartmentalized. And I've always wanted to use my voice to speak about important topics, and my mental health journey, I feel, is an important topic because it's just there's just so much stigma around mental health, especially mental illness, and I live with bipolar disorder, so I really want to talk about my journey, my diagnosis, and my healing journey as well with bipolar disorder, to help create a healthy dialogue around mental health, mental illness, and to also help reduce the stigma and hopefully make someone out there who watches this feel less alone. So I got diagnosed with bipolar disorder 7 years ago, and I'm 26 now, so I was 19, 20, 21. Those were like really rocky years for me, and I always said that bipolar kind of shot me in the head. It wasn't really something I had any control over. While my eating disorder in my teenage years, I was very present for. I was very, I was the one doing it to myself. I was starving myself. I was abusing myself with exercise, and they were, in many cases, my teenage years were more difficult to actually live and go through than this period of time that just kind of floored me. The rug was pulled from underneath my feet, as if that makes sense. So I guess we have to kind of track back a little bit and look at my past and my trauma, where it all started, because I am a firm believer the fact that mental health issues don't just shoot you in the head. There is a cause and effect and a reason somewhere in your past. And in saying that, I would like to preface, whatever that word is, this video by saying that I do not blame anyone for this, and I do not think one single thing in my past caused this. I believe that I am an incredibly sensitive human being, as are most people that suffer in life, and it's been a lifelong journey accepting my sensitivity. I'm still very sensitive, and if you are a sensitive soul, you will feel more pain than other people do, but you will also feel more joy and all the other positive emotions. So once you can kind of learn to work with your sensitivity and your begin to understand yourself more, whether that's an addiction, anything, you can learn how to thrive in the world instead of being a victim to it. So I really want to also show people that anyone who has a mental illness or mental health issues, that you can learn to live a healthy and happy life, and I am an example of that. That's not to say I'll never get sick again or become dependent on my family again, and I'm incredibly lucky that I have the support systems that I do, because I know that not everybody does, and that makes any sort of illness much more difficult to have to go through. So yeah, back to my teenage years, it all kind of started with, I guess, a sexual awakening. I remember I was like 15 I was in school, and I was having a lot of fun. I was drinking, I was doing all these things that I shouldn't have been doing, and I got in trouble with multiple different people, friends, everything, and the world just became, I had multiple boyfriends, I was getting lots of male attention, friends didn't like that, and I eventually, I was in a relationship that I had no boundaries in, and I wasn't able to protect myself in, and I have struggled to track back to that relationship because it seemed to caused me, that whole year in general, there was sexual trauma that happened in that relationship. I don't believe that I was sexually assaulted, but I was traumatized by it, if that makes sense. I developed an eating disorder. I became incredibly studious, and I became addicted to exercise and food. I became a recluse. I wouldn't go out on the weekends. I wouldn't do anything, and I became celibate. So I, for 5 years, from the age of 15 to like 19, 4 years maybe, I was as quiet as a mouse, as good as gold, and that was not my true nature. I was having a lot of fun in my early teen years, exploring, experimenting, and yeah, I cut off part of my life force energy, and I became very black and white, rigid thinking, perfectionism. My trauma response was perfectionism and purity. I came from a Catholic background, so my trauma response was to try and become pure and clean of any trauma and any guilt that I felt from drinking too young, being a negative influence on friends, mums not liking me in the school I went to, and it all just got too much for me. My sensitivity, I couldn't cope with all the external forces. My mother became very alarmed and worried about me. She even followed me a few times when I was out with my friends in her car, and I just thought that the best thing, I was the problem. I thought, I am the problem. I'm causing so much problems around me. I need to be good for everybody else. So roll on, my 19th year, I was experiencing anxiety, and I just come back from a year in a summer. My first year in college, I studied Spanish and sociology in Trinity, hated it. I think I was a bit depressed that year. Then I went to Costa Rica for the summer, because during these years that I was abusing myself with exercise, I found a little place called the internet, and the internet had so much possibility. There was a way attached to my dreaming and fantasy world. I could see a way out, and in these teen years, I just wanted to get the fuck out of Ireland. I wanted to get the fuck out of Dublin. Never wanted to be there again. You should see my diary entries from that age. I'm literally like, I cannot do my leaving cert. Fuck this place. I need to have set up a business. I need to have become a famous actress so that I can leave the planet. And a mental health nurse later was like, why did I want to go to Costa Rica all by myself when I was 19 years old? Why didn't I just go interrailing with all my other friends? Why did I need to escape? Escapism has been like my number one thing. And Costa Rica was me. Like, I found surfing. I found this YouTube channel with this girl surfing with her friends, looking like she was having fun in the sun, surfing with her friends, exploring this beautiful island, and I would just dream about that and dream about surfing, and surfing was my safe thing. And basically I went and did the thing at 19 years old. I did a workaway in Costa Rica, and I met some beautiful women. I met a yoga teacher. She was 26 and I was 19 at the time, and she taught me yoga every day. She was also a workaway. We were sharing bunk beds and living as 6 people in the same room. It was kind of crazy now that I look back on it, but an amazing life experience. And I did get to surf every day, but I also experienced sexual trauma. I got raped by the surf instructor in the place that I was living, and I had to stay there and live with him and see him every day for weeks and weeks and weeks while he carried on sleeping with one of my roommates. And I didn't realise what had happened at the time, and not until my mental health, when I came back from Costa Rica, I moved to a different college, to DCU. Not until I came back did I realise the extent of that trauma and how much it affected me. And because I wasn't able to fully process it, I ended up, my mental health just got so bad. It started with anxiety, and I think I'd started seeing someone in college, and the relationship was just bringing up unprocessed emotions. So I started going to therapy. My family said that they didn't believe that there was anything wrong with me and that I was making it up. And then I started doing some CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy. For anyone who is unfamiliar with cognitive behavioural therapy, it's all about challenging your thoughts, and if you can witness and observe what kind of thoughts you're saying, you can change your thoughts, because our thoughts influence our behaviours, which influence our actions, and we get stuck in this cycle of just playing out like a computer program. The mind is programmed to do something, so we program and we believe that way. A common example they use is like seeing someone in the supermarket who you feel embarrassed about. You have an awkward encounter with them, then you feel shame because you had an awkward encounter, so then you don't leave your house for days, and that's the thoughts, behaviour, actions. I'm a loser, I'm never going to leave my house, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that didn't really work on me. I became very depressed because I alleviated the anxiety, and then from the depression I would spike into good mood, and I would feel fine, and then I would catapult down into suicidal depression. No diagnosis at this time, and I went to Portugal for what was supposed to be the summer of my dreams, surfing and having lots of fun with my cousin. It only lasted 2 weeks because I had a suicidal bout of depression when I was over there. Luckily my family was with me, and then I came back and spent the summer, I think I was 20 at this stage, I spent the summer just working on myself, and I was trying to set up my own brand and business, but I would spiral in and out, like 2 weeks would fall off a cliff into suicidal depression and then emerge out of it and be fine. And this is very common for people with bipolar. I realise now I was experiencing rapid cycling bipolar, and I was linked in with the services, John of God's in Ireland, seeing a mental health nurse every 2 weeks, and I had an 8-week period window to get better, and then they were going to discharge me. And I didn't tell them that I was suicidal, that I was driving backwards and forwards, drinking naggins on the dart of vodka. I was had so many different types of suicidal ideation and plans and everything, and I don't think it's good to overly speak about them because that can give people ideas who are suicidal. And I even remember coming across YouTube videos of people and like trying to find out the ways that they did it, and ending up on really strange forums on the internet. And even apparently when you're suicidal, even the word suicide gives you a dopamine hit, and you just want to hear it and say it and research it. And like, I'm really passionate about people that have attempted suicide, trying to normalise and stigmatise, reduce the stigma, because or people that have been affected by it through family members or bereavements, because suicide is nothing to be ashamed of, and if there was less shame around it, people would recognise when they're having these thoughts, what the fuck, I'm thinking about this, what the fuck, I'm sick, I have a sick mind and I need to get help, I need to tell someone immediately about this. And most people, pretty much everyone that does attempt to kill themselves or even goes through with it, doesn't want to actually die, they want to end their pain. And if you've gotten to a point in your life where you're just not getting well, you're not getting better, it can feel like the only way out, but that's not true. You can live a life of so much joy again. You can feel the sunshine on your skin, and you can laugh with your family members, with friends, you get to have sex, you get to do all like this amazing things here. It's worth being alive for. And I remember I used to make myself videos on my computer. I'd record videos to myself on my photo booth MacBook thing, and I would be like, Anna, you don't want to die, please don't kill yourself. And then like 2 weeks later I'd have to watch the video and be like, okay. But it was so traumatizing, and it was so lonely, and I wasn't telling anyone about the extent of it for a long time, until the services tried to discharge me, and they told me that I just needed a little bit of psychotherapy and that I'd be okay. And I think I felt so unsafe because I knew that I was probably going to die and I wasn't telling anyone. So they discharged me, and then I lost my mind and I had a manic episode. I was smoking some marijuana at the time with an ex-boyfriend, at the time boyfriend, and I thought that was helping me. And I dislike that I'm down on the system or the records as marijuana-induced psychosis, because I was so vulnerable at the time. I was so afraid of dying, and no one understood the extent of the pain that I was in. And I'm grateful that I had that manic episode, because I got to address my problems. It took months and months and months to get it, even a diagnosis. That happened in the October, and I was hospitalised for like 3 weeks in the highest security ward. No shoelaces, not allowed outside by yourself, nothing, no razors, no sharp objects, like really high security ward. The only way you're allowed to go outside to the balcony is if you're having a smoke, and that's something when I get manic, I tend to crave nicotine and I smoke, and it's part of me that I kind of like, because I get to be my kind of rebellious little teenager self. When I was 15, just doing everything, I guess this repressed part of me comes out, and I think she's so cool. She's such a badass. She doesn't give a fuck. And there's negative consequences to that as well, because you lose your inhibitions, you lose the kind of sensor in your mind that kind of is able to discern right from wrong. Don't walk that way, you're gonna fall off a cliff. And some people, when they do like LSD acid trips, this is what happens to them, and they believe that they can fly. And this is why there's so much negative stigmas. And anytime someone tries to say a positive statement like, oh, manic episodes are beautiful or LSD trips are amazing, you learn so much, people see these facts about people dying and doing awful things and horrible, regretful things that they say, and the beauty and the magic is lost from it. But there's so much research done in the States about like people releasing their trauma through ketamine trials and being on LSD trips and stuff, where you get to access this part of your mind that is free, and when you come back down, you're able to integrate the teachings and the learnings. But that's a story for another day. I am training to study shamanism at the end of April. So I'm planning to like work in this kind of realm and area with the subconscious mind a lot more, and also get a deeper understanding of the mania side of things. But let's stay on track. So October I was diagnosed, I ended up in hospital, and the following February I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And I was at a storytelling event in my place of work this week for International Women's Day, and I told my story of friendship through bipolar disorder, because my main friends from childhood abandoned me when I was sick, and they didn't understand what was happening to me, and they unfollowed me on Instagram because I was posting very radical stuff, nothing more crazy than I do now. And they unfollowed me, and they didn't come to see me in hospital. They didn't. I understand that they didn't understand what was happening to me, but even through all the suicidal ideation and everything, the most harmful thing was actually my friends rejecting me. And when I got well again the following year, and I kind of, I gained so much weight on my medication, I was totally felt like I was falling through the cracks, and I wrote a poem about how harmful, like, that fear of falling through the cracks, losing my life, and like, just really feeling it was like my worst fear in life. Like, I ended up doing a random like level 4 course PLC with people that were all suicidal, and it was horrible. And that is when I had my most intense suicide attempt that I ended up in hospital for, because I was just surrounded by everyone that wanted to die, and like no one, like, anyway. But the friend's story I told was that I lived in fear of having another manic episode for 6 years because I was so afraid. All these beautiful friendships I had made through yoga, through skating, through surfing, I was so afraid they were all going to abandon me and reject me, just like my childhood friends had. But instead They all came to visit me, every single one of them in hospital, and one of them was even, the name of the story I called in this storytelling event was twerking in the psych ward. One of them was even dancing with me in hospital, and like I'm pretty sure the medical staff were pretty confused about the amount of people that came to visit me in hospital, because again, hospital is a shameful thing. People that go into the psych ward in John of God's are usually very ashamed of it, but I had a party. I invited every friend to come and visit me and people were lining up at the door. So yeah, I was pretty terrified of it happening again. Those like 5-6 years of wellness were really good. I became a yoga teacher, I apprenticed with 2 artists, and I lived in Portugal and Ireland. I hosted a retreat in Portugal with 12 women, and I hosted a few different retreats in Ireland, set up my own brand, the Sisterhood Collective, and I'm hosting a retreat in Portugal this June as well. Everything is being released this week, depending on when this video is released. And yeah, I think, you know, there's so much I could speak about this. I think a few of the questions that I put up on my Instagram were around like what is people's opinion, like how do people react when you say you have bipolar. For the most part, people are really good, they're curious, they're open-minded, they're interested. It's really rare, not that many people have it, but I've met friends from me being open that have bipolar, that have since gone into hospital, that have since suffered, and they've been really grateful for me for being open, and I'm doing it for them really and truly. And then I have other people that have family members with bipolar, and like, you know, for the most part, I've been received pretty well. One thing I do fear is like being rejected by future employers and stuff, because the nature of the work that I do is very unstable, creative work and yoga teaching, my art as well. But I've made the decision that if I am not able to use my voice, then the job isn't right for me, because I want to continue advocating for mental health for the rest of my life. And if it's not, if it's a reason why I don't get a job or something, then it's not the right fit for me. And for the most part, my employers have been really supportive. Yeah, and I can't remember the other questions. Give me 1 second. And there's so much more I could go into, but I really want to make things kind of happy as well. Not happy, the stories are really intense. Okay, so one of the questions was advice for people best to communicate and understand those with bipolar disorder. That's a good question because when you are experiencing a manic episode or depression, you can, I guess, be defensive or super withdrawn or super it depends on what state you're in, obviously, and then you can be well as well for long periods of time. But I would just say with compassion and curiosity and vulnerability as well. I think if you approach someone with defensiveness or accusation, or like they're doing something wrong, that can feel like really threatening. When were you first diagnosed and what led to the diagnosis? I've already spoken about that. Has there been any positives to being diagnosed with bipolar? I think the positives are a reconnection to my true self. I was living a lie. I was this high achieving sports star and academic girl, when really all I want to be really was that teenager that was so free and happy, but like felt so wrong that she shouldn't she wasn't safe to be her true self in the world, and it reconnects me to my creativity. It's sent me on a deeply, deeply healing path. To understand myself more. I wouldn't be connected to myself. I wouldn't be this connected to myself and understand who I am, or be so in tune with other people and their kind of stuff as well. And then how are you received? Yeah, so they were all the questions I got. But I did absolutely no planning for this video, so I guess I just kind of blabbed on about my story, but there are obviously negative side effects to it, which is suicidal depression. I'm luckily, when I had my breakdown, not this October, the previous October 2023, I didn't experience suicidal depression at all, and the depression wasn't even as bad as before, because I think I've done so much work. I do so much work for this cause that I was so held and received by my community, and I was able to still surf, which gives me hope. I think the most damaging thing for anyone with a mental health problem is hope, and if you don't have hope, there is nothing to live for. And you need hope. You need hope to get you through a single day here on earth, and that is very important thing to stress, just how important hope is. And you can find hope in a flower, looking at how beautiful the flower is. You can find hope in a dog. You can find hope in hugging someone that you love, laughing, eating a tub of Ben and Jerry's. I think I might do a part 2 video series of this, because there's actually too much to talk about and my camera's about to die. But I am a year and a half on from a breakdown, and I'm heading off to Bali at the end of this month. I am teaching yoga in the west of Ireland. I'm surfing all the time, mostly all the time. I'm painting. I have beautiful friends around me, and I live in a beautiful community with beautiful people, and there is hope for you. There's hope for me, there's hope for you. And I hope that you can feel less alone by hearing my story and send it on to someone who might benefit from it. And yeah, you will smile again. So that is all for me. And yeah, loads and loads of love.